Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Health First. Today I am here with Miss Watson, who is a functional medicine health practitioner. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Absolutely.
I would like to start off by asking what influenced you to pursue a career involving medicine?
Well, I've always been interested in health and nutrition, and my path brought me to a certain place in my life where I really wanted to start sharing the things that I learned with other people because there's so much information out there and people are very confused. And I was I started off as a health coach, but I wanted to help it on a deeper level. So I went into functional medicine, which is an amazing healing modality. And a lot of doctors, nurse practitioners, a lot of other health practitioners are looking to functional medicine as a fantastic way to look at the root causes of illness, and there's always a root cause. Our body is connected. We're not just parts. We're not just our head and our brain and our arms and our legs and our gut. There's always a reason for something to express itself in disease. And what functional medicine does is we take a look at regular blood work, or we could do some functional testing as well. But basic blood work can tell you so much. And what functional medicine does is look at suboptimal levels. Like I always like to give the example of vitamin D. There's a huge conventional reference range for a vitamin D, anywhere from 30 to 75, I believe it is, or maybe even 100 on the conventional marker. And supposing you're coming in with some symptoms, you have symptoms of autoimmune disease or you have some issue, and you're running at like a 32 on your vitamin D. Your doctor is going to say, "You're doing great. That's fine. Awesome." No, but we know in functional medicine that in order to support an illness, your level of vitamin D needs to be at least 60. It needs to be higher than 40. 45 to 70 would be great with somebody on autoimmune. But that's the kind of thing that can make a difference for somebody who's struggling with an illness, as opposed to the conventional markers, which are really geographical based reference ranges for on an average. So that's kind of what we do. We just look to make things more optimal for people through health questionnaires, testing. And that has been so exciting to me when I found out that functional medicine actually did this kind of thing for people.
Yeah, and how did you discover this amazing field?
Well, I was a health coach, like I had mentioned, and I enjoyed it so much. Helping people with their diet, lifestyle is truly something that people need. But I was finding that most people were coming to a health coach for weight loss. And as we know, weight loss, especially as you get older, can be for so many different things. It could be hormonal, it could be because of insulin resistance. It's not just a matter of what you put in your mouth, but a lot of people were expecting that. It's like, what kind of diet can I get on so I can lose weight? And I wanted something more than that. And I wanted to help the people who are truly struggling in a more holistic way, but yet backed in science. So I did a lot of research, and I came upon functional medicine on a Google search, and I saw a lot of information about it. So I called a couple of schools to find out exactly what it was, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the whole concept.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, what do you like most about your profession?
What I like most is the fact that I can help somebody who's been struggling for a long time,
Mhm.
and they can finally start feeling better after many types of drugs, after lots of searching for an answer, that I can finally explain to them how their body is working, how it's connected, and why their body might be expressing itself in this particular way, and then gently bring it back into balance again through nutraceuticals, through lifestyle changes, and yes, sometimes with conventional medicine, which I am not a doctor and I can't prescribe, but sometimes I'll tell people to go to their doctors to get something that can actually help them because of the actual reason that it is, and not just a band-aid, not just a band-aid.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And as you know, the COVID-19 pandemic has greatly affected the nation and continues to do so. So how was it like working throughout the global pandemic?
It's very interesting. I think there's been a shift in people's lifestyle and in their mind, and for a variety of things, from their work environment, from thinking they have a solid safe job net, safety net, to their health.
Mhm.
And it could go either way. I noticed that some people were just sitting back and, you know, not exercising and eating junk food and totally not doing the best thing for their bodies. But then on the other hand, there were people who were like, wow, I'm afraid that I might get something like COVID and it could potentially make my health very bad. So I want to do the things that are going to really help me. So I found people were hungry for information about how to keep themselves healthy during this time. And unfortunately, I saw the other spectrum where people just didn't care. And it's human nature, and it's all good. It's where people are at. I don't judge anybody, but it is interesting that some people would prefer to just kind of live in a dream world, and think that, whatever they do is not going to affect their body.
Mhm.
But most people, I think, have made a positive shift.
Yeah. So how are you able to help people during this difficult time period?
So a lot of it is stress, right? And I focus on women's hormones, and especially over for perimenopause and menopause. And stress, as our hormones are changing, they're so sensitive to changes in diet and stress. So things that never would have bothered us before or felt physically can really start to make big problems. And for instance, as we get older, uh, we naturally have a little more insulin resistance. So, eating the same foods are really can affect you,
Mhm.
as far as putting on extra weight. Also, with the stress, it could affect your hormones like estrogen, testosterone, cortisol. And once these things are elevated for a period of time, people can start losing hair. They can start exhibiting symptoms of low thyroid, just a lot of these issues that start to express themselves. So people aren't tying into the pandemic really. They're just like, oh, I'm getting older, or whatever. They just, it's hard for people to think that stress is actually going to cause
Mhm.
a problem. And it does, especially if it's prolonged, which we know this pandemic has. So for me, it's been very gratifying to be able to teach people and share with them how they can be supporting themselves during this time, and why stress can be so destructive during this pandemic, which you may never get COVID, you may never get sick from COVID, but you might get sick from what you're doing to yourself with the stress.
Yeah, it's so amazing that you can help in that way because I definitely think it is like very necessary during this time. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. To end off, can you give a few words of advice to the people of my generation hoping to go into a career involving medicine?
Absolutely. Oh, and I'm so excited to be able to share this because I think what you're doing is amazing, and helping people is at the core.
Mhm.
There's so many people out there who are struggling and suffering, and I like to uh, look at people where they're at, because everybody has a different level of health, and what they're ready for and what they're ready to accept. And just being compassionate to the suffering,
Mhm.
because chronic diseases are really on the rise. And that's one thing where conventional medicine right now is struggling with helping these people, because these are people who are living with pain, exhaustion, and there's really no disease for it. Yes, we can call it chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, Lyme disease, but it's an everyday feeling of not being well, even though they look well on the outside. And it's really like the issue of our day. And I think for young people who are starting out right now, who may be even experiencing some of these things from toxicity, chronic fatigue, and also having their own issues that they're dealing with, because I know a lot of younger people are starting to have these things that you normally think would happen in a more older population, that just to understand that there is a lot of suffering out there and a lot of people who are afraid to talk about it because they feel that people are done with them. You know, they don't want to hear people complaining about my aches, my pains, my exhaustion when they look totally fine on the outside. It could be very frustrating for all. So sometimes people are suffering in silence. And I think as a wellness practitioner, it helps us to really ask really good questions and be compassionate with people who are probably struggling.
Yeah, definitely. And those are all the questions. So thank you so much for joining me here. And
You're
thank you
welcome.
for your time.
You're welcome. I love doing it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.